Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. Okay, in today's video, we are only going to read one book because this is the one book that matters. We are at 99. I have read 99 books this year. It is so funny when the year starts and you tell yourself you're going to read at least 100 books. It seems crazy to say, like, I'm going to read 100 books, but you know you are because I've done it for the past 3 years. So it's like I'm going to do it. But it just seems like so far away. But like I always say, people come into my house and see how many books I have, and they're like, Kenya, how are you going to read all of these books? I'm going to read them one page at a time. You cannot read 2 pages at the same time. I'm going to read them one page at a time, and eventually I will get through them. And one page at a time, I was able to read 99 books this year. But it's the 100th. You got to do something special for 100. So I said, I want a 5-star read. What is a book on my bookshelf that I have seen the most people give 5 stars to? Because let me tell you guys something about me. I try to tell people this a lot. I am not a contrarian at heart, which means I am not somebody who likes to, I am not someone who likes to go against the grain. I usually like what other people like, especially when it comes to books. There are some people who are just like, oh, if everybody loved this book, I'm probably not going to like it. That's not me. If the people who I usually watch give a book high reviews, I will probably give it high reviews too. I am not someone who walks through life and just tries to be different from everybody. That's just not me. That's not a personality trait I really like in other people. Put me in that number. I like community and I like being a part of something bigger than me. That's kind of a really base thing about me, that I like being part of a group. So therefore, I usually like things that other people like. And so I was like, if everybody who I watched enjoyed this book, why would I not? And so I decided, The Will of the Many. I am going to read The Will of the Many. I don't think anyone give this book less than 4 stars. I think most people I've seen have given this 5 stars. The sequel for this book comes out in November. And so not only will I be able to say I read this book, but I'll be able to read it right on time before the new book comes out if I want to read that. Now, there are a few things working against me with this book. This is a fantasy book. We are talking about a power system. All of this stuff usually doesn't jive with me. You guys know I don't read fantasy that much on my channel. If I do usually like it, but it's just rare that I pick fantasy up, but I can enjoy fantasy. It's just I don't usually gravitate towards it. But The Will of the Many, I feel like it's going to be different. I feel like I'm going to like this book. I'm going to enjoy this book. This is the only book we're going to read in this video because this book is long as hell. Now, that does not mean I'll be reading this book the entire week. I think when it comes to really long books, you kind of have to have a purpose. You cannot just eat on it every now and then. You have to say, I'm going to read this book in this many days. And you have to break it apart so that you are able to do it. Because if you just let a long book linger in your life, you will find yourself in a reading slump. You do not want to be inside a book for weeks and weeks and weeks. It just gets slumpy. So I said 3 days. I said 3 days. I want to read this entire book in 3 days and not a day more, which means I will have to read over 200 pages every single day. And the words on these pages is not big. So it's going to take some reading, but that's what we do it for, right? Somebody got to be a reader in this world, and it's me and you. So that is what I am going to do. And let's hope by the end of this, my 100th book of the year is a 5-star read, and Kenya enjoys a fantasy book, and maybe I want to read more fantasy. Who knows? But let's get started. We are going to embark on The Will of the Many by James Islington, okay? And this is called the Hierarchy series. The name of the series is called the Hierarchy series. So let's get on into it, okay? Let's go. Hello, you guys. I just want to start off and jump in on the will of the many. I woke up this morning and I got 50 pages into this book. It is always really jarring when I read a fantasy book because it happens very rarely. I read maybe 5 fantasy books a month. And it just takes me a long time to get my footing in the world, to like be like, oh, we're doing this, because it's not something I regularly do. And this book was no different. We start off and this character is in a prison. We are in this world where it's clear that like people are siphoning other people's will. So like, what is your will? I'm not quite sure yet, but you have a will and people are siphoning it from you. And in this prison that our main character, Vic, he works in, or Vic something. He works in a prison. And one day somebody on a higher tier than him, because this world is split up into tiers, and depending on which tier you are in, that is how much will you have. So the higher you are in this hierarchy, this is called the hierarchy series. The higher you are, the more will you have, and you siphon will from other people. So someone comes into the prison where our main character works, and he wants to see one of the prisoners. And our main character, who works with this older guy at the job, is like, I'll take him. And so they go to this prisoner, and we see that the prisoner is connected to this thing that is taking his will. So basically everyone in this prison is kind of like, they're awake, but they might as well be asleep. Like they're in this like fog, this haze. They have no energy. They don't get any exercise. The only thing that they do is get their will siphoned from them, and they eat. And basically this guy wants to talk to this prisoner. So when they get to talking, our main character notices that they are talking in a dead language that he understands, because he has his own backstory and reasonings that I'm not quite sure of at this time. And so anyways, he goes to connect the prisoner back to the thing that's taking his will, because he unplugged it for them to talk. And when he goes to do it, there's a little squabble between him and the prisoner, because the prisoner doesn't want to really like go back under again. And what happens is our main character touches the thing that takes your will, but his will isn't taken from him. And he's hoping that the guy who was there, the visitor, doesn't notice that happen, because he's not even really sure like what really happened there. But his will doesn't get taken, and he's not really affected by these machines the way other people who come into the prison are. Anyways, the guy kind of leaves. Our main character is a little like iffy on the guy. He knows that the guy is like keeping some secrets, but our main character has secrets of his own. So he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna let it be, because this guy is a higher ranking official than me. Our main character goes off to go to this like coliseum where they fight. He does some fighting. He likes to gain money in these fights, and so he bets on himself and he gets money, because our main character has a goal. He has a goal that he needs enough money to be able to, see this goal through, whether he wants to run away from this world, whether he wants to, get revenge. We do know his parents are dead. He lives in an orphanage, and he's 17 years old. And what makes him kind of special from other people his age is that he's never had his will siphoned. So I think at 13 or 14, everyone goes to this like public place and they get some of their will siphoned. And most people do that because you kind of get things in return for that. People do stuff for you, or you can get money for it, whatever. He's never done it before because they can't really force you to do it. They can beat your ass to death, but like they really can't make you do it. You have to willingly go do it. And he's never done that. But at 17 years old, after he turns 18, he won't have an option. He'll just have to do it. And so he's never had any of his will taken from him. And so it seems like when he gets of age, he's going to figure out something, and he has a plan. He ends up going back to his orphanage after he, gets into a fight. He wins the fight. And the guy from the prison ends up coming to the orphanage to adopt somebody. And this kind of starts our story where something about our character is different from other people. Kind of this, the hero's call. Like something is different from you. You're not like everybody else. And so far, that's where I am 50 pages into the book. This book, let me start with the bad. Not the bad, but like the stuff that's like I'm trying to grasp. Like there's a lot of names. There's like a different hierarchy. And this book does give you not a glossary, but it does give you a little thing to tell you the hierarchy and how many people are in each of, how much will each of these things have. So the people at the top, the princeps, they have the will of 40,000 people. So they've taken will from 40,000 people and so on. And then the people at the very bottom have like none. They have like no will from anybody. And so you have all of these people, and everyone kind of is like put into these different like groups based on how much will they're able to have. And will kind of runs the country. People trade their will. People trade other people's will at this orphanage. The main lady over the orphanage, she takes the will of the children in there and sells them to people. So like these children, their will is getting taken away from them, and they're just happy because someone is feeding and clothing them. So they're like okay with it. So yeah, it just is one of those, you barter with your will. So far, that's what's going on in this book. I am really enjoying this book. I forget sometimes that like, it's not that I dislike fantasy books, that I just don't read them. I forget there are plenty of fantasy books that I really, really enjoy. I just don't really get into it because it's just not something that I'm just gravitating towards. But this book is moving. This book is bouncing. And if you're going to give me a fantasy novel, you're going to have to jump me right on into it. And that's what this book starts immediately. We are in the world. And I love the way the world building is in this book. We're not info dumping. We're not, okay, here's all the pieces on the board. We are slowly coming of knowledge. And that's my favorite thing in really any book. I don't like it when like everything is laid out in front of me and it's like, okay, here's your story. Like I like to stumble upon information about a world and then put it all together. And that's what this book is doing, because it keeps me intrigued and it keeps me paying attention, because it's just like, okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? Wasn't supposed to know that. And so I'm really, really enjoying this book. I do want to get to page 200 by the end of today, because I honestly don't want to spend more than 3 days on this book, but we will see. I'm going to get some work done and then I'm going to go back. I will see you guys when I get to the 150 page mark. I'm going to read 100 pages off camera, and then I will tell you guys how I'm feeling after that, because look, we got a long way to go, baby. But I'm excited. It's been a long time since I read like a really girthy book. So this is actually not true. Whenever I read that Tudor series, those books are like almost 600 pages. I don't know why they don't feel as long, but yeah, this starting off so good. I'm excited. I will talk to you guys later, okay? Hello, hello, hello. It is the end of the day. It is not the end of my reading day. I will still be reading some more, but I have made it to the 150 page mark, which means I have read 100 pages since the last time I have spoken to you. So we're moving along. And like I said, this book is still going the same, where we're kind of just being told a story. They're not really trying to catch us up. They're dropping names, they're dropping history, and we're just expected to, get on board with it. You're not going to understand some things, but eventually things will become more understanding. I will say it does make the reading experience more dense that way. Like it takes me about an hour and a half to read 50 pages, which is not usual, but it is still fun to feel like you're being told a story and someone's taking you along and they're not info dumping. Now, I will say The next 100 pages were a little bit more info dumpy. We do get kind of our training sequence that our usual heroes go through, where like we get a history lesson on everything that has happened in this world, and that happens. We get to know a lot of the players on the board, but I do think because this book is taking its time and we're spending a lot of time in certain places, it feels more effortless. It doesn't feel like the book is trying to like rush me to something. We are just taking our time being in this world. We're learning things as the characters are learning things. The character is letting us in on things that he already knows. So it's really, really interesting. We do kind of have our hero's dilemma that has like striked up, and I don't think it's a spoiler to really say what the hero's dilemma is. So there are two, like, so you have the hierarchy. This big are they called the Campman? The Campman Islands, the Capeman Republic. They are this collection of like cities, towns, countries, and the hierarchy has kind of like taken over these places like systematically and just like, you know, become like over the entire world. But there are still places trying to fight back, and one of the places trying to fight back and earn their own like power wants our main character to kind of like infiltrate the system so that they can have some leverage. But also our main character has been adopted. And he's adopted for a specific reason, which is kind of to do the exact same thing, to get information on like some of the people in the hierarchy. And so he has these two sides, both wanting to use him in order to gain their own power, but he's kind of like, he doesn't want any part in this world. He wants to dismantle the entire world. So he's just like, I don't know, y'all, but I'm going to do what makes sense for me. Like, I'm just going to do what's in my best interest. I don't care about neither of y'all side. This is really about me. So that's kind of his hero's dilemma, and it's still really, really enjoyable. Like I said, I'm to the place where it's just like, when they say names in this book, I just am like, yeah. I'm like, right. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I don't think you're supposed to. I think as the names come up more, you'll kind of like get what they're trying to do. You'll understand it even more. But this book moves, I think, like I said, I think the pace is the best part of this book. This book moves at a pace that you understand it. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't feel like you're rushing towards an ending. It feels like you're just in a story and you're not really sure what this book is trying to be. Of course, I've heard people talk about this book, so therefore, like, I kind of know where it's headed, but you're just reading, you're just like, what's going to happen next? So overall, very interesting. I will say, if I were to give some like things that aren't going great, I don't feel like our main character is all that strong. Of course, this is just book one in a series. I believe book two just came out, or it's about to come out. I know the arcs have already been sent around. Maybe, did I make that up? Who knows? And so you're going to spend more time with this character, I'm assuming. And so therefore, everything in the first 150 pages don't need to be known. I do wish, though, he was kind of a stronger character. Like, he doesn't feel 17. He doesn't feel like this boy who has lost so much at 17. He kind of feels like stock hero, where like you can put anything on him. And I just feel like in 2025, we should have better hero characters. But I don't think this is a book about characterization. I think this is a very plot, world-focused fantasy novel. And so if you take it for that, I think it is going really, really well. It's going good regardless, but if you take it for just like plot, world, politics, everybody having their own positions and their own sides, it's good. And like I said, it's like a game of chess, and I'm seeing all the pieces. I'm seeing all the pieces coming together, and so I'm enjoying myself. Anyways, I am going to talk to you guys, so I'm going to try to read to page 200 before I go to bed, and then in the morning I'm going to read another 50 pages, so you guys will see me again after I have read 100 more pages, okay? told you guys the last time I was talking about this book that I would read 100 more pages before I come back and talk to you, and we are on a roll. When it comes to long books, I believe that you have to stay on a schedule. Like, if you just read 20 pages here, 10 pages there, it will take you so long to finish a long book, and you might end up just giving up on it or coming back to it months later. You just have to sprint to the finish when it comes to a long book. So that is what I am doing, and I am officially on page 250. So not halfway done, but about 50 pages from being halfway done. And we have moved on to part 2. So part 1 was really a setup of us learning everyone's position on the board, learning what everyone has at stake, learning what this guy, who our main character, who he was adopted by, learning what he has, to lose. This other side who's trying to go against the Capitol, learning what they have in it, learning what our main character has in it a little bit, and then all of these other characters that's around the board, what they could be getting from it. Every single person has their own motives, their own reasonings for wanting, power or wanting some type of control. And no, we don't know everyone's motives, but we know that they're vying for something. There is something at play that we're not even fully aware of. And so that's what part 1 was about. Part 1 to me was really about the politics, not even the politics, just everyone's positioning. Now part 2, what it seems like, we are at this school. So there is this academy where all the most powerful people go to, and this is how you kind of get your positioning. If you do well in the academy, you can go off to get a position in religion, military, government, all of this stuff. And so you have to go through the academy. The academy is split up into 7 levels, and our main character is starting at the bottom level. You have to read to figure out how he ends up at the academy, what he's doing at the academy, but he starts at the bottom level. And this is him going through the academy to see if he is going to, be able to be successful, and what side he's going to choose. Is he going to choose himself, other people? What's going to happen? I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying this a lot. I actually am enjoying it more right now than I was enjoying the beginning, which is like obvious. You're dealing with a fantasy series that's really, really long. The beginning is a lot of exposition, but I'm liking the academy stuff. I'm appreciating more how slow this book is moving. There are some action scenes that I think are well done. I think the best thing about this book that I am enjoying so far is when 2 characters are having conversations, like what they're choosing to say to one another, what they're choosing not to say, what idea does one character have about another character, Everyone's kind of talking in backdoor ways, like they're saying things, but do you mean something else? And I really, really enjoy that. Everyone just has a sense of like manipulation, a little bit of skeeziness on them that I'm really, really enjoying. So overall, I'm still liking this book. Like I said, if the book ended right now, I would give this book 4 stars. It is not like my favorite thing in the world. I will say that I do think at this stage, at page 250, I was expecting to like this a little more than what I am liking, but I think maybe as the book goes on, people like to like it. You guys, I don't think I've seen someone give this book less than 4 stars. And like I said, right now if the book, and I would give it 4 stars. People love this book, love this book. So I'm waiting to see what everyone is so grouped and gagged by. So we're going to see. I'm going to keep on reading, though. The next time you guys see me, I will read 100 more pages. So yeah, peace. you guys? It is the end of the day. I am about to do my nighttime skincare routine, but I definitely owe you guys a reading update because I have read 100 pages, actually 100 pages plus since the last time I talked to you guys, which means we are officially past the halfway point. There's more up here than down here, which is a feat because I will not say this is going by quickly. Like, I feel like I have read 360 plus pages. Like, I feel that way. Like, this is a very, very girthy book. And I want to come and discuss my feelings because they have changed a little bit. So there's like a saying in like life, like don't assign malice where you can assign misunderstanding, which is basically don't assume somebody has done something wrong to you intentionally before you assume that like maybe it was an accident, like and no one's out to get you. I feel like that same thing can be applied to art sometimes in work where like don't assign poor craftsmanship or, you know, poor work to where you can assign misunderstanding, where you can assign that you just don't understand what an author is trying to do. I think sometimes we are quick to just be like, this didn't work for me, I hated this, instead of thinking like, why did this author make those decisions, and try to wrap your head around why an author did that. And that like really explains how my feelings towards this book changed. So at first I was already good on this book. I thought this book was a good book. But, you know how I was talking to you guys earlier and I was saying how like the character feels kind of aloof. Like I feel like the characters in this book are a little, you know, distant. I was saying that to myself as I was reading through the next 100 pages, and I'm like, what if that is exactly what the author is intentioning? Like, what if those are the intentions of the book? That you're never supposed to feel like you really know this character. Like, I'm talking about how everyone in this world is seedy and strange, and they have their own reasons, and everyone has a vendetta and an agenda. Why not think that the character in the book is also, the main character is also like keeping things from you, the reader, that you, the reader, are not supposed to fully understand who he is and why he's doing the stuff that he is doing. And that feeling of like unease almost, or like, who is this guy? Why is this guy doing this? That's the point. And so seeing it that way, I've come to appreciate this character even more. Now, this could all fall apart. Like, this could be like, no, maybe it's just bad characterization. But in reality, I think I'm supposed to feel this way about the character. I'm supposed to feel like I don't really know him. I don't know if I can trust him. Like, what is he doing? I'm supposed to feel that way. And so there is a scene in this book where our main character, he is breaking into something. And it is such a good scene. It is such a good scene. He's like on a race against the clock. It's so good. I don't read fantasy often, but reading that scene took me back to when I was a young youth. When I was a jit, and I used to read like fantasy a lot as a kid because, you know, the dystopian era and stuff. When I used to read sci-fi and fantasy, it took me back to that like I need to flip the page. I need to flip the page to see what happened. That scene is so good. And when I was reading that scene, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm enjoying this book so much. So like my feelings on this book, not that they've changed because I already was enjoying the book, but like now I can't wait to get back into it. I need to know what happens next. There's been a couple goops, there's been a couple gags going on in this book. So I am just interested to see how all of this is going to wrap up. The next time I talk to you guys will be in the morning. So I'm going to read 100 more pages before you guys see me again. And then we will be in the home stretch. From there, we literally will only have like 100 pages left of the book. So I'm hoping I give this book at least a 4.5. I don't know. I'm really unsure. I have to see how all of this comes together. But I will say I am enjoying the ride. I really, really am. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys a little later. Hello, you guys, and good morning. Let's talk about the will of the many. I don't even have the dust jacket anymore. That's how you know some serious reading has been done. I don't even know where the dust jacket is. You guys, look at this. We're in the home stretch, buddy. We only have 150 pages left, which means, you guys know I read in 50s. That means I have 3 more sprints to go, and this book is done. There is absolutely no reason, unless something crazy happens today, there is no reason why I won't finish this book. And you guys, I am enjoying this book so damn much. The school part of this book where he's at the academy is so juicy. Everyone seems like a liar. Everyone seems like they're up to no good. And my favorite thing about this book so far, I keep saying that about a lot of stuff, but it's like, is the people who also don't really believe him. Like, you're just so worried he's going to get caught in a lie. And it's just, there's so much suspense, there's so much tension, but also I'm very intrigued about this world. The more we learn about it, the more interesting it becomes. The people in this world. We have also this like found family aspect that is going on. There is this like battle sequence that is really, really good, or like this duel that is a really good sequence. So we have action going on in here. There's just so much going on in this book, and there is so much to love in this book, and it's worth all 600 pages. Like, you really become endeared to these characters, you know? And like what they have going on, because you spend so much time with them, and this just feels so like epic and so good. And like, I always say, like, no, I don't read fantasy books, but that does not mean I can't like a fantasy book. And that is this, and it's so damn interesting and so juicy. So we are definitely shaping up for at least 4 stars. This will not get lower than 4 stars, because hold up, my grass is getting cut. Because oftentimes I worry that when people read really long books, they give it high ratings because they've spent so much time reading it, and they don't want to feel like it's a waste of time. So I was worried that like, oh, people give this book 4 stars because it's 600 pages. No, this book is good. This book is so good. Also, I was trying to see how many pages I had left to come tell you guys. And you guys, in the back of the book, there's a glossary. I haven't been using the glossary because I've been able to keep up for the most part. Every now and then I'll be like, who is this person? And I have to think back in my mind to figure out how we know their name. So it actually isn't that confusing to me, but for people it would be confusing. To people who aren't reading the book as quick as I am, there's a glossary back there for you. So anyways, I'm going to finish this. Not right now. I'm only going to read 50 pages at the current moment. But yeah, we're moving and shaking. We are moving and shaking, my friend. Hello, you guys. I am sitting here, so that means I am here to wrap the video up. And that means that I have finished The Will of the Many. I read all 620 pages of this book. This is my 100th book of the year. And did we get a 5-star on my 100th book of the year? The answer is, drumroll please, no. No, we did not get a 5-star on my 100th book of the year, and I'm really disappointed. I was thinking about this before I went to bed last night, because that's when I finished it. I was just like, I wanted this to be a 5-star so bad, because I said at the top of the video, I am not one of those people who like get pride in giving books bad reviews when other people give them good reviews. More than likely, if a lot of people enjoy a book, people I respect, of course, like a book, I am usually going to like it. If the people who, I watch frequently, they give a book a high review, like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh, everybody hated this book, so I'm probably gonna like it, or everyone liked this book, so I'm probably gonna hate it. I don't really like people like that, because I think being a contrarian is not a personality trait that's enviable. But I just really expected to give this book 5 stars, and I didn't. So the beginning, if I had to give the first half of the book, not half, first third of the book, I would give 4 stars. I really like the rise of the book. If I had to give the middle part of this book, so the next third a rating, I would give it 5 stars. If you've read this book, then once we get to the academy, I just think those are some of the best pages I have read this year. I was flying through them. I thought they were great. But you really want to know what lost me? The last part of the book, the last about 150 pages of the book, I was just not in it the same way that I was in the beginning. We got a lot of action scenes going on, and I just really wasn't in him. I expected, reading 500 pages, I expected the last 100 pages of this book to just be boom, 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 breakneck, and it's just like cinema. And that's not necessarily what it was for me. So I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high. I am giving this book 4 stars easy. 4 stars easy. This is a very, very enjoyable book. I would recommend this book to everybody. It's just, I think my expectations were really high. Everyone who I've watched has given this book 5 stars. And so I was just expecting to fall right in line, because that's usually what I do. And I would be forcing the issue if I gave this book 5 stars. I would really be forcing it. And it really is a 4-star book. If I was being really generous, 4.25. There are amazing things to love about this book. Like I said, if you're someone who wants a dark academia type of book, this is for you. Especially that middle section gets really, really good. There's some good characters going on in here. And there is a sequel coming out for this book in November. And this is how I know it's not a 5-star book. I could read the next book. I could not read the next book. I will read the next book. I think I already pre-ordered it. But if it won't be the biggest crime of my life if somehow I just don't end up reading it and unhauling it a couple years from now, being I don't even remember what happened in the Will of the Many. I will read it, and I hope I read it. But if I didn't, I would be fine. But I did learn something from this. I enjoy reading fantasy a little bit. This actually made me go look at some videos people have made talking about fantasy books that they would say are comp titles for this, or book, if you like this, you should read this. And I think I'm going to get me some, fantasy, but just dip my toe in a little bit of fantasy to see what's going on in the fantasy world, because I don't know. R.F. Kuang did just come out. Is that in the book's fantasy or sci-fi? I don't know. I do have to read the new R.F. Kuang, but I kind of want to reread Babel first. So we don't know. I'm on a tangent. But yeah, this was a 4 out of 5 star read, unfortunately. So you probably won't really see this book come up anymore on my channel. It definitely won't be in most disappointing. It won't be in most surprising, and it won't be in best of the year. So you probably won't see this book again on my channel until maybe a wrap up, but that's it. So yeah, I did read this book. I did enjoy this book. I really have nothing but nice things to say about this book. It just wasn't 5 stars, But that is that on that. And you guys, I read it in 3 days. Can you read a 620 page book in 3 days? And it was dense. I feel altogether, that was 12 hours of reading that I did in 3 days. Proud. I got some new books. Some new books came for me. I'm going to show you what I got. Number 1, I got Trees by Percival Everett. This is a book by Percival Everett that came out in 2022. Percival Everett has 30 books, so you got to pick and choose what you're going to read. I'm going to read Trees next because, last month I read 2 books by Percival Everett and gave them 5 stars. So The Trees is the next book I will probably read from him. And I got my hands on that. I also got my hands on What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. I've been wanting this book. This is a book that has just been on my radar. And finally I was just like, can you go ahead and get it? So What Kind of Paradise I need to read it. I need to read so many of my new purchases. I've been doing so bad at reading new purchases, and that's all I should be doing. I've just been reading slower. Like, look, we're halfway through August, and I just read my 100th book of the year. We're going to get nowhere near 200 books read in the year, and that's what I did last year. So I'm like 20 books behind on my reading, and it kind of shows based off like what's like all the new purchases that I've just not been able to get to. Anyways, and then I purchased a romance book called It's You Every Time by Charlene Thomas. Maybe it'll make its way in the book club. Maybe I'll read it on my own. Who knows? I just got off reading romance, so I probably won't do that anytime soon unless it makes its way in the book club. Anyways, that is the end of this one. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.